lesson for today is about the different techniques in selecting and organizing information. Okay, just a heads up, this topic is quite long. That's why I decided to create another video for topic outline and sentence outline, because the different techniques in selecting and organizing information are brainstorming, graphic organizer, topic outline, and sentence outline. So for this video, we would only cover brainstorming and graphic organizer. Okay, so let's continue. Okay, what is brainstorming? So brainstorming, I think I'm confident that most of you already know what brainstorming is, but let's just take a look at the definition of brainstorming according to our very good friend Alex Fakney Osborne in 1963. So brainstorming is a group or individual creativity technique by which efforts are made to find a conclusion for a specific problem by gathering a list ideas spontaneously contributed by its members. Okay, so when I first came across this definition, I thought I was I thought I didn't understand it correctly because it says individual creativity. So brainstorming pala could also be done individually, right? So let's move forward. Okay, now let's talk about the different types of brainstorming. So we have individual brainstorming and group brainstorming. Group brainstorming, I think that's the brainstorming that we are so much familiar with, but individual, let's focus on this. So individual brainstorming is the use of brainstorming in solitary, meaning you have to be alone, okay? Because it's individual and solitary. So haven't you noticed when we are alone, sometimes there's so many ideas in our head, and sometimes we talk to ourselves and ask ourselves questions such as, is this idea better than this idea? Or is this going to be good for my essay? Stuff like that. Okay, so there are different tips for individual brainstorming that you might want to follow. Okay, the first one is to get the most out of your individual brainstorming session, choose a comfortable place to sit and think. Okay, so this is effective for most people, and not to me, because I like to, generate ideas in a not so quiet place. Because when I'm in a quiet place and just sitting and thinking, I tend to just overthink. Okay, but for most people, they prefer the quiet. So find a quiet spot, sit and think. Okay, next, minimize distractions so that you can focus on the problem at hand. Okay, eyes on the prize. So if you want to write an essay, a decent essay on this about this pandemic or any issues or any topics for that matter, then it would be very helpful if you minimize distraction so that you can focus on your main topic. Okay. And last but not least, consider using mind maps to arrange and develop ideas. So mind maps, we will talk about it's one of the graphic organizers, and we will talk about those later on in this video. Okay. Now let's talk about the more familiar one, group brainstorming. So this can develop more in-depth ideas than individual brainstorming, and it's something that needs discussion. Okay, so again, group, because it's done with another person or with a group of people, then you have a discussion needs to happen, okay, in order for the ideas or different ideas and thoughts to be processed. Okay, so these are the different tips for group brainstorming. Their first one is have a clear objective. Okay, so I think this goes without saying that before you embark on a writing journey or any activity for that matter, you have to know your goal first. So you have to set your objective or your main goal for the writing activity. Next is record your ideas. So it would be more, and this, I have proven this in, since I was studying, right, or a student like you, that when you record or when you write down your ideas, it's easier, okay, to process them afterwards, okay, when you're actually starting to write. Okay, so there are different ways to record your ideas. So we have, you could write them, you can jot down the notes, jotting down notes is like the most common way of recording your ideas. But with the advent of technology, you can actually make use of things like your smartphone. When you can also do like voice memos, or you can screen capture any ideas that are already written, right? And so those are the things that you can do if you want to record your ideas, because they will be very, very useful and effective. I tell you that. Okay, so next, never interrupt people's idea. Okay, so this is very important. When you're working with a team or with a group, obviously you would have different, sometimes conflicting ideas, right? So all you have to do is to accept the fact that not all your ideas are going to be accepted, or not all of your ideas could be as good as the other members of the group. So just agree to disagree. It always helps when you just accept differences in a group. Okay, last but not least, hold off on criticism or judgment. Okay, again, this is very much related to the previous bullet point, never interrupt people's ideas. So if you think that the things that the one member or the other members of the group are saying don't make sense to you, or you don't find them too interesting, then hold off in criticizing them. Okay, maybe you can do that in private, or just not, don't voice it out like in a very rude manner in front of the group, because that will get you in trouble. Okay, now, how to record ideas. Okay, so I told you earlier you could use any means possible, or any means that you're comfortable with. For example, you can voice record yourself, you can use your mobile phone, but these are some of the um, suggested ways to record your ideas. First is mind mapping. Mind mapping we will talk about in a little while as we go along in this video, because it's one of the graphic organizers. And then computer is also very important, right? You can use your laptop or your desktop when you're trying to record or record your ideas. And this is more commonly used by like actual writers or authors, right? And then last but not least, definitely not least, sticky notes. Okay, sticky notes are a friend, especially if you're someone that's on the go always. So like when you're traveling, on when you're on, or when you're on your way to school, so you can actually just grab that sticky note and then just write whatever random idea that pops in your head, and then you can look at them later when you're actually writing your piece. Okay, I tell you, sticky notes are a friend. Okay, now let's talk about the different pros and cons of brainstorming. Okay, so brainstorming has advantages and it also has disadvantages. Okay, and these are very straightforward and self-explanatory. So I don't think there's a need for me to explain them or to expound on them. Okay, so I'm just going to read them. The different advantages of brainstorming are: first, it encourages creative thinking. Next, all ideas are accepted. It makes everyone part of a team, and it is exciting and easy. Okay, now let's go to the different disadvantages of brainstorming. So as helpful and as effective as it is, brainstorming could also be disadvantageous sometimes. Okay, so let's talk about the first one. It only works when everyone in the room has something to say. Okay, so imagine if you're paired up with a stranger, or if you're part of a group in which all of the members are strangers to you, and you think they're too shy and reserved and they really don't want to share their ideas. So maybe brainstorming won't work in that scenario. Okay, next, without a leader present, it may take a longer time to get solution. And this is so true. And I think you would agree with me, especially if your teacher would ask you to have a group activity and to write something about a specific topic as a group. It's so hard to start or to continue or to finish without that one leader. Okay, so if there's no leader, it probably may take a longer time to finish or to arrive at a solution to a problem. Okay. Okay, next, group with a large member will not be effective. Okay, so imagine being in a group with 100 members. So it's really hard to manage. It's sometimes it's hard to like voice out your ideas because there are just too many members, and it may not be as effective as you want it to be. Okay. And last but not least, emotional people are not allowed. Okay, so I'm sure you've had your fair share of experiences with group brainstorming, and you know, there are some members who tend to be a little emotional sometimes, especially if their thoughts or ideas are not listened to or heard, um, and that's normal. And again, that's one of the disadvantages of brainstorming, specifically group brainstorming. Now that we have defined what graphic organizer is, and we have determined its two types, the advantages and disadvantages, now let's go ahead and talk about the second topic, which is graphic organizers. So why do we use them? Okay, so graphic organizers help students gather, sift through. Sift through means like to sort out, right? Organize and share information. Okay, so I have also included a photo or a picture of the different or common graphic organizers that we use. So we have the very famous Venn diagram, and then we have sequence chart, we have the T chart, we have the main idea web, and of course the concept or the mind map. Okay. Okay, so graphic organizers help students to focus their thoughts for planning, decision making, and writing. Okay, so if we use graphic organizers, again, all of the information or the main ideas and thoughts that we need for whatever it is that we're going to write or to make are already laid out, maybe in a form of a diagram, a chart, a graph, or whatever. Okay. Okay, next is they allow the mind to see connections, patterns, and relationships, or the big picture. Okay, so when you use graphic organizers, you can actually see, because all the information or the main idea and thoughts and concepts are laid out. So you can actually see where one idea is connected, right? Or if this idea is parallel or coherent with the other ideas or concepts in your graphic organizer. So it makes you, or it allows you to see the bigger picture. Okay, okay. Next, they almost always incorporate higher level thought. Okay, so with graphic organizers, it allows you to not just, you know, think about, because thinking of ideas or concepts or any thoughts, right, is an easy task. It really doesn't require, it's not rocket science. So, but putting them together, right, and organizing them requires a higher level thought. And last but not least, they are easy to modify for all types of learners. So as what I've mentioned, there are students, or some of you might be learning faster if you see texts, right? Some of you might be learning faster if you see pictures and graphs, and you know, just make sense out of them. And that's why we have so many options out there for graphic organizers, and they can be modified according to learning needs. Okay, so which works better or best for you, you choose. Okay. Okay, so finally, we will talk about the different graphic organizers. Okay, so we have plenty of choices. Okay, and I just want to give a disclaimer. Um, you might find some graphic organizers similar. Okay, and the point of difference only is like how they are drawn or laid out, or the aesthetics part. But some of them, yeah, are very similar, and you can choose a graphic organizer depending on the purpose. Okay, for example, if you want to compare or you compare two things or three things, you choose a specific graphic organizer, okay, to actually see or the comparison between or among things. Okay, so let's start with the first one. Graphic organizer star diagram. Okay, so if the topic involves investigating attributes associated with a single topic, use a star diagram as your graphic organizer. Star diagrams are useful for basic brainstorming about a topic or simply listing all the major traits related to a theme. Okay, so as you can see here in the picture that I included, so the main topic is the dietary guidelines. And then in the corners, if I may say, yeah, corners of the stars. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? or 5, I don't know how to say it. Let's just call it corners for lack of a better word, okay? So we have number 1, follow a healthy eating pattern across the lifespan. Number 2, 3, 4, and number 5. Okay, so all the related ideas are put on the corners of this star, and the main topic is at the middlemost part. Okay, next. Okay, so let's have the spider map. Okay, very pretty picture. Okay, if the topic involves investigating attributes associated with a single topic and then obtaining more details on each of these ideas, use a spider diagram as your graphic organizer. This is like the star graphic organizer, which with one more level of detail. So I think the explanation is very simple. You have a main topic, and this will be the body of the spider, and then you have the main ideas, right? And then on the legs, on the legs, the main ideas, and then on the web, supposed to be the webs, right? You write your supporting details, okay, related to the main idea. Okay, so it's like a star, just like what's mentioned in the definition. It's like the star graphic organizer with one more level of detail. And that one more level of detail would be the web, okay? Not the legs, but the web. Okay, let's continue. The next graphic organizer is, the infamous fishbone diagram. If the topic involves investigating multiple cause and effect factors associated with a complex topic and how they interrelate, use a fishbone diagram as your graphic organizer. I think we have used fishbone, we have been using fishbone diagram since, I don't know, junior high school, and I think we are also familiar with it. Okay. Okay, next is the cluster or the cloud diagram. Okay, so this is also very similar to the previous ones like the star diagram and the web diagram. If the topic involves generating a web of ideas based on a stimulus topic, use a clustering diagram as your graphic organizer. Okay, so we have on the picture here, which I included, the main idea or the main topic is at the centermost. Okay, and then there are bubbles or clouds, right, which contain the sub-ideas. And then the details of the sub-ideas are also included and put on other bubbles or clouds until they become like a web or a cloud or a cluster. Okay, hence the name cluster or cloud diagram. Okay. We also have the chain diagram. If the topic involves a linear chain of events with a definite beginning, middle, and end, use a chain of events graphic organizer. So when you say linear, that means flat or straight. Okay. So as you can see in the picture, it's very straightforward. So most of the time, chain diagrams are used to describe processes, okay, or like steps, okay, because those have definite beginning, middle, and end. So it's a sequence. You can't skip from one step to the next just because you want to, okay? Okay, next we have the cycle diagram. Ooh, okay. To be honest, this is one of my favorites because I remember when I was, I think, grade 4, my science teacher would ask us to like draw in our notebook, right? The life cycle of a butterfly. Okay, like this on the picture. Okay, if the topic involves a recurring cycle of events with no beginning and no end, use a cyclic graphic organizer. But in this case, right, because it continues or it happens continuously, right, it's a good idea for the life cycle of a butterfly to be illustrated using a cycle diagram. Okay, brings back so much memories. Okay, let's go to the next one. Flowchart diagram. Oh, this is very famous and this is very easy as well. Flowcharts are use rectangles, ovals, diamonds, and potentially numerous other shapes to define the types of step, along with connecting arrows to define flow and sequence. They can range from simple hand-drawn charts to comprehensive computer-drawn diagrams depicting multiple steps and routes. Okay, so this might look intimidating at first or complicated, but it's really not. So if you just want to show step-by-step process of or the step-by-step ways of doing things or a certain process. For example, you can see this, I think if you go to the admin building or to the green building of the university during enrollment, you can see a lot of flowcharts, right? Laying out like the steps on the enrollment steps, like what to do first, next, and up to the last step, which is I think the printing of your COR. So that's a flowchart for you. Okay. Okay, next is Venn diagram. Ooh. It is an illustration that uses circles to show the relationships among things or finite groups of things. Circles that overlap have a commonality, while circles that do not overlap do not share those traits. Venn diagrams help to visually represent the similarities and differences between two concepts. So you have to be careful. Venn diagram, usually two concepts, okay? So as you can see in the two overlapping circles, green circle, whales, red or pink circle, fish. And then was that an oval? Yeah, or the middle, right? The point where they overlap, right? That's where you put the similarities or the things that are common between the two. And then on the not the part that's not overlapping, the differences. Okay, very easy. Okay, next we have the chart diagram. Ooh, this is also very popular. Okay, if the task involves condensing and organizing data about traits of many items, use a chart, matrix, graphic organizer. Okay, I think this is pretty simple. Okay, if you look at the illustration here, although these are only two items, but it's not limited to two, you guys. So you can also put as many items as you like and just put very specific indicators or characteristics that you want your audience to see. Okay. Okay, next is the pie diagram or the pie chart. Okay, again, another very popular graphic organizer. So if the task involves showing divisions with a group, use a pie chart. Okay, so as you can see in the picture, right, it's a superhero battle winner. Captain America, 19%, Iron Man, 27%, Superman, 13%, Batman, 41%, really, okay. So if you want to show like specific divisions or percentages, it's a good idea to use a pie chart. Okay, next we have the vocabulary map. Well, this is not very common in the place where I work, but this will be very helpful, especially for learners who are trying to learn a new language. Okay, so graphic organizers can be useful in helping a student learn new vocabulary words, having them list the word and its part of speech, like a noun, verb, adjective, adverb, etc., a synonym, an antonym, a drawing that represents the word, and a sentence using the word. So as you can see, this is a lot of quadrants and portions, and it could be really tasky. But if you're determined to learn like English or another language, then vocabulary map is definitely a good idea. Okay, next. Oh, we have the geographic map. Who doesn't know what a map is, right? This graphic organizer is useful for writing a short report on a country or other area. So the student draws a map and flag and looks up basic information on the area. So I don't think I need to explain this any further. Geographic map. Okay, so those are all the graphic organizers, you guys. There are so many of them, right? But again, I want to repeat myself. You choose a graphic organizer depending on the purpose. So now, before we go, let's review some concepts. Okay, so the top priority of brainstorming is quantity over quality. Why? When brainstorming, you have to be able to get or gather as many information, ideas, and concepts as you can. And then you select from there, okay? And then next, brainstorming is the first step in the exploration phase of a new project. So it's important to be open to all ideas and possibilities. I think this is pretty straightforward. Okay, next, don't get lazy when you brainstorm. Keep it both efficient and effective. Okay, especially if you're part of a group. Okay, don't be a burden to your group mates. There's no such thing as crazy ideas. Okay, so all ideas are valid. Okay, next. Graphic organizers integrate both text and visuals. I think that's pretty obvious. Next, scientifically proven to be an effective way of teaching and learning. I agree. And then make lessons more engaging as well as easily comprehensible. Because with graphic organizers, it's so easy to like lay out the ideas and the concepts and the thoughts and the information. And it could be colorful, and this would help especially young learners, right? Because most of them are visual. Okay, so pretty things they look at. Okay, that's about it. We have reached the end of our lecture. But before we go, I want to leave this bonus question to my students. What type of learner do you think you are? I mean, what learning technique or method you find most effective for you? Again, what type of learner do you think you are? Okay, so that's it. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please subscribe to my channel and click the notification bell if you haven't already. And I'll see you on the part 2 of the lecture about techniques in organizing information. Till next time, ta-ta.